Hello, modern drummer. I'm David Frangioni, and we are here backstage with another edition of the Modern Drummer podcast. And we have the one and only and an incredible drummer and innovator, Johnny Rabb. Johnny, welcome.
Hey, David. How you doing? Thank you very much.
So good to see you.
You too.
On tour with Collective Soul.
Yes.
And innovator of Freehand and many other things that we'll talk about. Wayne Shovlin.
Good job, Wayne.
Now, did I say your last name right?
Shovlin. Yeah.
Shovlin.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right. And he's shoveling some drums all over the country.
Yes.
All right. So let's get into it. So, Johnny.
Yes, sir.
You're out with Collective Soul. How long have you been with these guys?
This is the end. I believe it's the end of the 13th year. If not, it's the 12th year. And it's also the end of this Hooting the Blowfish and Edwin McCain tour that we're doing with Collective Soul. It's been, I think, 46 shows, something like that.
Yeah.
And it started May 24th or something. It's been a long
It's the end of September. That's a long one.
Where did that go? Totally. Yeah.
Oh, so you've been with those guys a long time.
Yeah.
So when did you start playing the drums? When did it start for Johnny Rabb?
4 years old was I call it the kind of like checking it out phase where I just loved it. I saw a marching band. My parents for Christmas got me one of those toy drum sets with the paper heads, the kind of Muppet kit.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't Muppet. It still had a really cool finish, black, silver, and red, weird. No one would want it now. Ended up going through that kit by like age 5, and with the first year it was destroyed. Then I really got into it when we moved to California from Virginia at about age 8. That's when lessons started.
Wow.
Kind of
Very
self-taught.
young.
Yeah.
Now, your parents were really supportive then.
Very, very supportive. Even other neighbors like, what are you doing? And we all know it doesn't sound that great when you're starting.
Sure.
So they were really cool. The neighbors were cool about letting me do that in the neighborhood.
And did that passion stay with you from that young age? Did you go because now as we get older at that age, you find sports and you start dating girls and you learn and you start hanging at movies, like all these distractions, I'll call them, or other passions.
Right.
What did your drum journey look like as you got past 8 and you're starting to now, become a teenager?
That's a great question. All jokes aside, I definitely tell people that life is important to go share and experience. Like you said, girlfriends, sports, soccer. I did soccer competitively all the way through high school and was going to go to, I would have been redshirted, meaning not played, but I was highly competitive in soccer, but I was not as good as some of the guys that went on to be pro, because indoor soccer was a big deal back then in California. I loved it. The passion of drums stayed all through that. So I was juggling. We lucked out in Sacramento having an amazing jazz program. So Craig Frangioni, the director, was like doing stuff like Monterey Jazz Fest, Sonoma Jazz Fest, Reno Jazz Fest, and it was very competitive as well. So that got me introduced to jazz, fusion, funk, along with my drum teacher. So the passion was from, I would say, age 10, 12 up to now. I mean, really just still love it. Even if I didn't do it for a living, that's what somebody said. What if somebody said you couldn't do it for a living? You have to quit. I said, if they said I have to quit, I'd be very upset. If they said I couldn't do it for a living, no problem. As long as I could still play. That's real too.
And when you discover fusion at that age, is it Billy Cobham and Lenny White? Like what?
100%.
Who do you find?
Tony Williams. I was sat in the middle of a room by my drum teacher, and he put on Lifetime, and he goes, "I'm going to be able to play this by the end of high school." And I'm like, "What is this?" And
Was
I
it
fell in
Believe
love
It?
with it. Yeah,
it was Believe It.
yeah.
Okay.
And I lost my mind to that. Steve Jordan with Steve Kahn, all the stuff, even the smooth jazz stuff that was starting to happen in the '80s. I was loving all the Dave Sanborn stuff, Omar Hakim, and then I was enjoying everything from that to Greg Bissonette with Maynard Ferguson, and then Greg Bissonette to David Lee Roth. That changed my whole scene, being like, whoa, you can play that style of rock drumming, but it have that fusion funky element with David Lee Roth. It's endless. I mean, as I said, Jordan, Steve Smith is my all-time favorite, so I was into Vinyl Information at an early age. And of course, Rush, I couldn't help that. Van Halen, 1984 came out, that changed me. Was aware of the earlier Diver Down and all these albums, but I was too little to get into that. 1984 was the one that was like, what? Hot for the Teacher. And it just, all these drummers, from funk to jazz to rock to drum machines.
And were you playing double bass at that time?
Yeah, I have a quick funny story. At Skip's Music in Sacramento, they had an Imperial Star Midnight Blue. I remember I said I wasn't into gear. I am, but it's like I keep forgetting. They had a 24-inch kick with that a Midnight Blue, it was called, or something like that. And then I had a 22, and I could never get them to be in tune. So it was kind of terrible. It'd be like, let's go for it. Go, wabble, 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 wabble. So I gave up double bass and then got quickly into pedal. I just couldn't get them to, because it was 24, 22, no matter what I tried. It was a discount for, you can buy the 24 for less. I still love double bass and double pedal. And it's my journey to get my feet like some of these people are doing. Virgil and Thomas. And by the way, Virgil, I know him all over. Virgil, I had a cassette bootleg of Loose Change, his band from Australia. I never forget meeting him in Australia for the first time. I go, hey, Virgil. And I was pretty young. I go, Loose Change. He goes, what? And I go, Loose Change. He goes, how do you know that band? I'm like, somehow got a bootleg from a high school exchange student that came over. So I was introduced to Virgil way early too. It was cool.
Wow.
I know it's a lot. You didn't ask. But.
No, I am asking. And it's interesting because with Virgil, whenever drummers describe the first time they hear or see Virgil play, they always say, Virgil happened to me.
Oh my gosh.
Like that's what a force that his drumming makes as an impact on, on all of us when we first, especially when we first discover his playing.
He's such a sweet human being too, and I think he lives in Greece now.
No, he lives in Italy.
Italy, okay,
Yeah,
sorry.
That's right. Yeah, he's a dear friend and a great collaborator of modern drummers.
Wonderful.
So now we go back to high school.
Yep.
What happens when you get out of high school and you're faced with college, something else, or drumming?
USC was offering me to do, we want people to march with the Trojans. I have reasons I never marched. It wasn't because I didn't want to. It's a long story. So I didn't go there. They wanted to do that and the red shirting of soccer. And I was in California, it was LA. I'm like, maybe I should do that. Then UNR offered from a jazz scholarship, full ride for the jazz program. That's all they had going. Don't get me wrong, I'm not disrespecting UNR. But then Berkeley was where I really had my heart set on in Boston. And so my drum teacher and my mom helped me get that application together. Had a few little teasing scholarships where they're like, great drum solo, here's $1,500. And you're like, they want me. It's a very nice gesture, but it's not anything like a full ride or anything. So I said, I'd love to go there, applied, got in, and then Boston was quickly after for actually 5 years because I did music ed and performance.
You graduated from Berkeley?
Yeah. One of the few, and apparently broke the rule of you can't graduate and have a gig. So,
so what was your gig when you got out?
I was offered to teach in Brookline, Massachusetts, and it was
I'm from Boston, so
yes.
This is very familiar to me.
Yeah, okay.
Brookline.
So Brookline Elementary is where I did my student teaching, and the teacher was retiring, and she said, do you want to take over? And it was heartbreaking because I did, but I said, I need to go try to gig. I didn't go to Berkeley I know I got a music ed degree, but I didn't go to teach.
That wasn't your passion?
No, I love being in front of people and teaching folks, but even the kids were great, but no. I have to say that it just drumming took over. It's not that I don't love teaching, but you're absolutely correct. No, it was not.
So what did you do to go out and get your first big gig or first gig?
Okay, went right back to Sacramento for 1 year of what I call a year of honing in all the stuff I learned at Berkeley, and it helped. And I had a band called Stick Boy, and we played at a club called Harlow's, and they didn't have music, so we ramped up their scene, and it worked. I was rapping, kind of sing rapping, Soul Coughing meets and G-Love, that type of stuff, at that club. Realized soon I better move somewhere. So I moved to Nashville in 1996 and lived there for 12 years and did everything from a week with Maynard Ferguson and then Tanya Tucker, Hank Williams III, a couple TV spots where I wasn't drumming, but you're on there, faking it. Some studio sessions, but it was...
So you were a working drummer in Nashville?
Yeah, but I will say, let me not be fake here. It was a good 5 years of still bartending and waiting tables at Red Lobster on and off. It absolutely sucked. That part. Didn't enjoy that, but it was character building, but I was on and off, and I could always go back to that job. I did not enjoy it.
In Nashville. You had to supplement
the
playing side of it with just, making a living.
Every night was Red Lobster till 10 p.m., go down to Broadway where you could actually still park your car. And sometimes you'd be the only one there, I'm not even kidding, and you'd play all along what I call the window gigs, Roberts, Tootsie's, all those places that now is so different. They're so different than... and I moved there about the exact same time as Jim Riley and Rich Redmond and a few others.
Two very dear friends.
Great people. Yeah. And we all dreamed about getting gigs.
And so Rich, he writes Fundamentals, published by Modern Drummer.
Yeah, good.
And he's out on tour. And Jim gets with Rascal Flatts.
Yes.
And then you get with all of these superstar, musicians just by networking. What was your approach to standing out in a city that has a lot of great drummers?
Playing as much as possible, no matter what, if it didn't pay downtown at that time. I was heavily into 80s / I know we were into the 90s and country. So when I came to town, I had all my stuff together. I wanted to play with all these, like I wanted to play with Neil McCoy. I wanted to play with all these up and coming country artists, Toby Keith. You know what I mean? That was the hot thing then.
Mm-hmm.
Now they're legends. I just kept playing every time I could, even if I didn't know the music. And I learned the libraries from my friend Jay Weaver on bass. He would just be like, Johnny Cash beat. He would just say it and you know what that meant. And it's ironic, I won't say who it is, but I had a friend of mine, a colleague, say, I don't understand this feel. And he was on a country gig. And it blew my mind. Meaning, like, to me, it's a prerequisite. If somebody said it, you'd know it. And it was an interesting phone call of like, I don't understand this feel that you were doing on this. And it was subbing for that gig. And I was like, I kind of wanted to go, and I think you're probably in some trouble. But you know what I mean? I tried to explain it, but it was like almost all of us had to get it built in. We're playing those gigs, and it's all the old country, new pop country, everything. So you had to know those feels. And I guess
that was doing your homework that you knew those feels.
And I listened to all those artists like religiously and loved it. Now I've taken a little break from country. I still really love it and enjoy it, but I would just play and go watch people play as much as possible. And at that time, before Rich and we just talked about it, and Jim, there were the people we'd go watch. And you're like, whoa, like John McTeague III and all these guys that really had their Texas swing and shuffles together. It's like, what is happening here? So that, and it was long-winded, but I would just play. And it was frustrating. I had a rock band. You take the Red Lobster uniform off and go try to put on some sort of rock type stuff and go down there and act like you weren't employed at Red Lobster also. And just network, shake hands, try to go to sessions, try to watch other drummers. Dan Needham, I saw him killing it for a Christian artist. John Elefante for the first time. I'm like, okay, that's the level. Whoa.
When you look back at the teachers that impacted you the most, who would be one or two that really were huge between Berkeley and California and just your journey of having teachers?
It's easy. It's Mike Lawson, who I'm still great friends with, from Skip's Music. We are like brothers / almost like a dad figure. I have parents, but you get my point. It was like that. And then from Berkeley, we had John Ramsey, John Azilla, Steve Wilkes, Ed Kaspick passed away, but he was my favorite. He made me stop taking lessons from him. He goes, you got to go get other ideas. I would have stayed with him for the 4 years. He was so incredible with like the Chafee stuff and
all the linear stuff.
Insane. So, and there's many more, but yeah.
And as you're going along your journey, when does the freehand technique get invented?
1995 and a half. I started messing with that, and there's a lot of, I always give credit where it's due, where I've got inspired, and that inspiration was straight up from Ken Wood-Denard. I even gave him a hug over it at Berkeley, but I didn't meet him. I met him at Berkeley later. I said, "Can I give you a hug?" He goes, "Sure." It was kind of weird. I said, "Thank you for doing your wood stroke," which is just one-handed roll where I don't want to say spastic because I love Ken was one of my favorite.
I remember seeing him play that with Jocko.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah, Jonathan Swift's.
Yeah, okay.
I would stand stage left,
yeah.
and I was from here as far as we are, because that close, because we're such a small club.
Monstrous.
And he's on the ride cymbal, and I'd never seen or heard a drummer do this before. We're in like 1983 or 4, right? So like there's no videos or anything. And he hadn't done his instructional video yet. And all of a sudden he breaks out into this groove with Jocko where on his right hand he's playing. I'm going, what the hell is going on?
Was he doing this thing with the tip and butt? Or
yeah.
Okay, this is ridiculous. And this to me, Ken,
was... It was on a ride cymbal,
yes.
and it's 16th notes faster than most guys play 2 hands. Thank you for watching and supporting everything Modern Drummer is up to. Hit the subscribe button down below. It means so much to us because we can keep bringing you the best drummers and content all the time. And please check out our shop. We've got Legends books. We've got back issues. We've got swag. Everything the drumming community could want. And it's so exciting to have you guys be the best part of it. Once again, thank you and enjoy the rest of the video.
What I feel like I've done maybe is take the inspiration and then it was like, what if, and I remember doing it in Nashville on that hot upstairs thing, what if this could be written out, controlled to where you could play with instruction this stuff cleanly, not just, I'm not talking about Ken Woods being spazzy, but not just a, hey, I'm rolling, like really play like a snare piece or really play.
Well, before you and Kenwood, I actually only saw the spastic side of it.
Got it.
And I had never seen anyone really scientifically present it. And even Kenwood with his video and that, we were able to get some insight.
Yeah.
But how were you inspired by Kenwood? How did that happen?
Because I saw his Just Advance video and got that solo record,
that's
and
the
then
video,
heard him
right.
on Punk Jazz and heard him on Maceo Parker Life on Planet Groove's Unbelievable. And when I saw him do that video roll, I went, what? Because I was doing drum and bass. I started doing the drum and bass book, and there's a lot of eighth notes going while there's 16ths on the left hand, on the drum machine. And I'm like, how am I going to play that? And that was how I started going, dut, 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 getting the eighth notes to equal 16th. Then I came up with a formula. Then the second book with Warner Brothers, now it's the Freehand license or whatever to Hudson for the past 10, 12 years. And just, as you know, the internet kind of takes over. So the battle, and people get mad at me. Some of my colleagues, mentors go, you shouldn't get all upset. I'm not upset. But the battle for me is I'm late to the game on like Instagram, YouTube. So a lot of the younger drummers are doing it. And then they look at me and they're like, that's just the gravity blast. And then I get a little upset. I'm like, no, I get it. And so I don't know what that thing is, but sometimes I get caught in a little bit of a battle and I have to be a little careful because I don't want to turn out looking like a jerk trying to defend what I've worked on. Does that make sense?
It does. Yeah. And sometimes if someone doesn't understand the history of it, it's easy to say, oh, I only saw this other person do it, so that's where it came from, when it really didn't come from there. What's the big difference between what Kenwood was doing and how you developed it into Freehand?
The only difference that I can, main difference I can see is just it is using the rim. When he's doing the fulcrum off the rim roll, he called it, or the wood stroke. Now, he was doing the tip and butt, like back and forth. This would just be using one stick going into the rim, just simply rocking up and down, to where the stick is constantly pivoting up and down. The freehand, what I've discovered is, again, Kenwood is like my favorite. So none of this is a diss on him.
No, not
but to
at all.
clean it up.
No, it's just to understand the differences. Because it's two different approaches to kind of a similar end zone.
Yes. So it definitely was inspired by using the rim. But I was like noticing that when you went on the rim, if you just pulled back up, the tip would automatically go come into the head, and then your back butt end of the stick would be up in the air. So the next stroke would be da-da-dumped, da-glink, glonk, da-glink, glonk, like this flippity-floppity sound. I decided to try to do it parallel, and that's the difference. It was like hitting the head at the same time it hits the rim, and then releasing the stick from the rim and going back up to starting position. And it made a clean, an exact height too, not a dot, dot. It was just a dot, 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 exact dynamics. And that was it. And then I started equaling the eighth note as the main pulse for everything. Eighths equal 16ths, eighth note triplets equal 16th note triplets. And that's the core.
And then how does it apply when you're on the ride, right? And you don't have a rim.
Okay, so the ride, I would use and this is not mine, I would use what Kenwood was doing, and I did absolutely steal that technique from it, which would be holding the middle of the stick like Jerry Brown as well. Jerry was famous for this too, of eighth notes here, and the back end is just digga, 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 digga. I don't think we have a stick in here, but shigga, digga, 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 this way. So 1 and 2 and digga, 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 digga. You're hitting the butt, so you're holding it in the middle of the stick.
Oh, I see.
In fact, Jerry Brown had his own sticks from ProMark that were double tipped. He just was extra long, and he was playing with Stanley Clark.
So he was seesawing the stick.
The stick in the middle.
And so, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
that's what Kenwood was doing when I saw him on the ride.
Yeah,
then.
and he's over here on the hi-hat too. Yeah, it's crazy.
Okay.
Yeah. You could use the bell as the fulcrum and try to, but I would admit I would just go right with what Kenwood was doing.
Gotcha. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, and that's got endless possibilities.
It's just that video changed my entire game, and that's what I want everyone to know. Kenwood's video changed I was like, okay, nothing is off limits. You can play the hi-hat rod, you can play the side of the drum, you can freak out on the kit, and he grooves so hard it's insane. Yep.
So, to your left is the drum tech to the stars. So, Wayne, what's been some of the biggest challenges on the tour? Like, what do people need to know, gigging drummers, that you have had to deal with and you had a solution ready because, that's the gig.
Yeah,
it's like,
it's
broken, it's fixed, before it breaks.
It's constantly putting out fires. You know, you never know what's going to happen during a show. You know, cymbal goes flying, snare head breaks, you know, and all that stuff happens. And
Even with all the prep.
even with
right?
all the
I mean,
prep,
it's
I mean, we change
unbelievable. You got-
heads constantly.
Right.
We-
You got backup drums. I mean, every contingency.
yeah, and it's constant. Like last night, we played in air conditioned theater, and today we're out in the heat. And you know, you pull the drums out of the cases, and they're all boing, boing.
Right.
Leg stretching.
Yeah. So yeah, it's constant maintenance, constant upkeep, and then putting out the fires when they happen. You know, you try to. If we do our jobs right, nothing should happen. But you know, there's those occasions.
It doesn't
when
happen
does.
often, though, right?
It
Would that
doesn't.
be fair?
No, it's pretty
Which
uneventful.
is the interesting thing, right?
Most of the time we're on stage, we're laughing our butts off because we're just having a good time up there.
Right.
And if
Because
something-
everything's working.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because everything's working.
Talk
Yeah.
about like we've had to make the signal because when I'm joking, sometimes I alert you and you're like, what? And I'm like, no, I'm just making a joke.
Yeah. So he gives me this look, and I think something's wrong, and I'm looking at the kit trying to figure out what broke, what's wrong, and he's just like making a joke, and
Or just saying hi to him.
Yeah,
which
he's
I
just-
probably should. I mean, I guess I need to be paying attention more.
So we talked about like Johnny, you got to give me a certain look when something's wrong, like you know what I mean.
right.
So we came up with like
Yeah.
cut, you know, like
Yep.
And
then
has
I know
anything
it's
gone wrong yet? You guys
I
have been
know.
out for 4 months, basically.
Right
Yeah,
at
I
the beginning,
think
we couldn't believe. Remember that?
yeah, the busted snare head once.
Bottom
and-
blew out.
The
Those-
bottom. It was the
Yep.
bottom that blew
That
out.
rarely is. That surprised me.
Yeah, and it was like there was no broken snare wires to put. I don't know how or you know, but
It went from crack to point. And I mean loud point, sweet backbeat. So then I switched over to the left auxiliary.
he moved over to the 13 snare while so the video was going around at that time of Sukerman and his tech swapping out his snare mid song,
Right.
and like we didn't catch ours on video, you know, like
He did it. Superwine did it.
But
Yeah,
a
but
similar thing happened, and you got
And we
back,
did it,
and you had
yeah.
your backup Superphonic.
yep,
Yeah.
yeah, just
There's weird little things I always say that, and I want you to talk. but
Yeah.
There's things that happen that as soon as you think they're not, it's the thing that does. Every time we're like, oh, we're cool.
Yeah.
Sticks being weird, me racking my knuckle off the rim of the drum underneath the stick. That feels great. He helps support me on that because I'm like, you know what?
yeah,
Language coming out.
yeah, and his knuckles are bleeding because he hit them on the.
Rarely. Because I'm goofy.
And
I
and
give
you
him
have
good.
Band-Aids ready?
I tell him use the stick.
We don't. We have towel. Go ahead.
Yeah,
towel.
use the stick.
Oh, yeah.
Don't use your knuckles.
Oh, yeah.
Thanks, Wayne.
Now, besides the great advice, what would you say would be the number one thing that someone needs to know to become a professional drum technician? What's the guidance?
The first thing you got to learn as a drum tech is so all drum techs are drummers, and then you have to realize
So
that
you're a drummer.
yes,
yeah.
and
Great drummer.
Great
it's
drummer, okay.
it's not you, and it's not the way you like it. It's not so. There, for instance, there's a lot of times, many times, Johnny doesn't even see his kit until he hits the stage.
Magical.
Yeah,
So,
that's tough.
like I take great pride in making sure everything is exact. Like
You do.
I try to dot all my I's and cross all my T's. And then I sit and I look at it and like, did I forget something? Did I forget something? And hopefully I never do. But so you just have to make sure you find out what the drummer likes, how he likes it, what he wants, and just make sure it's like that all the time. But before when I met Johnny, I was teching for Greg Upchurch with Three Doors Down. And, you know, and very specific. Everything is very specific. And
Same approach.
Same
where
approach.
Exactly
Yeah,
like Greg
it's-
wanted it is how it would be.
I'm like, the first time I meet with a drummer, like, you should show me how you like it and pet peeves that you might have, things that you really hate when this happens or this happens, so that we know, you know, to watch out for that.
And are you marking? You have some way to mark everything, right?
Oh,
The
yeah.
only way to get it back in every venue
Yeah,
is to
so-
have some system of capturing the snapshot of this is how Johnny wants it.
Yes. So I like these little Velcro circles that Velcro onto the drum rug, and they're numbered. And then the matching number strap goes on the bottom of that stand.
Okay.
So everything is marked out exactly where so every night when I set this up, I just place everything right in the marks.
Right.
Now, there's a lot of times we have to do fly dates, and we fly, and there's a backline kit.
Right.
And so I have
So what's the trick for that?
I have a tablet where I wrote down all the measurements of how high his hi-hat is. how
He
high
does.
Okay.
And I get
amazing.
everything exact on a B rig.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
awesome. So I would imagine, since Wayne's sitting here, you're pretty happy with how
he's
it's going. But is it fair to say that he nails it, and
Nails
you're
it.
able to literally get behind your
Yes.
kit in any of these
Any.
venues, and it's ready?
Total professional and become an amazing friend, but professionalism, always in a good mood. Anything that has to be changed, and like I don't, if you know me, I don't like to do the, I need this. I'm never that way. I hope you agree.
Never.
So like one time, for example, this is a quick story, like about the measurements, and Wayne's so nice. I went, Wayne, I'm raising up. I need to raise the hi-hat a little bit. It wasn't that he was wrong. I just felt like raising it up. He goes, it's the same measurement. I go, no, it's not your measurement. It's just today that mic, and that's a long story.
And yeah.
But anyway, just move,
Right.
move, and he goes with it.
And sometimes, like, if Johnny feels bad about making a change like that, I
feel
understand as a drummer that one day you might like it here, but the next day you're just feeling like you might like it here, you know? And
Right. That's the
it's
nature
just-
of our instrument,
it's,
right?
it's
a
the
physical
venue,
instrument.
the stage, the
Right.
riser that you're on. All these things could change how it feels.
You're right. He's never done something where I'm like, that wasn't right. I'm more like, can I try this today? It's that.
No, Johnny.
Well, it's
I
amazing
hate
because
asking him, dude.
you know, it's the unsung heroes. You know what you
Yeah.
do, Wayne, because it's, you know, these details, like, you know,
It's crazy.
it's really kind of counterintuitive how the more you do your job well, the less you're seen.
Yep.
And the less you're seen, it's like, oh, well, geez, it's, you know, well, the naive person would think
Correct.
anybody can do it if it's that easy,
Yeah.
because it just happens every night, not realizing how much goes into making it
gosh.
invisible.
Yeah, it's all the prep.
It has to
Yeah.
be invisible.
Yep.
So,
Seamless.
I mean,
I'm
you
doing
know,
that again because he's
Well,
David's not kidding.
I mean, and that's the magic of a great drum technician.
yeah.
But there's actual magic in this room right now. And we have a gentleman named Michael
My goodness
Trixx.
gracious.
And don't ask me how in the hell this circus has turned into a podcast on drumming. Bring in the
I think
clowns.
these are the clowns.
The
Yeah,
master
you're the
of
man.
ceremonies. So Michael Trixx, come on over.
Come on, Michael. Do I need to
And
move?
no.
okay.
Here,
You
sit
going right
here.
there?
I'll move over.
Welcome to our circus.
And
That's-
so you got some tricks for us. They say in drumming, timing is not only everything, it's the only thing. Do they say that in magic?
Timing is a lot to do with magic as well, yeah. And a couple things you said earlier. I'm from Cape Cod, Massachusetts. Did you say you're from up that way?
I'm from Boston.
Yeah, I grew up in
Yeah.
Sandwich.
Okay, and
Come on,
sandwiches.
guys.
The Hyannis, yeah.
Delicious.
And I was a bass player in rock bands before I found magic.
Okay.
I never saw a magic trick until I was 25 years old, so I started late.
And you're a professional magician, to say the least.
That's what I do now.
And you're a
yeah.
buddy of Johnny's, and
Yeah.
Michael
the man.
ends up here. I love magic. I had the privilege of getting to know Chris Angel and for years Penn and Teller, and just who I think are all just innovative, great magicians.
Absolutely.
So I love the art of it.
Yeah.
I know no magic tricks, although I would love to turn Modern Drummer into. I love the trick of turning our YouTube channel into 50 million subscribers, but that's
Right.
a different trick.
Right.
So what have you got for us?
Yeah, I'll do this little story thing that I do.
Okay.
I usually
This
end
has
my
got this- almost like a big mouse pad, but it's
And
branded
my-
tricks.
close-up shows with this normally. I'm going to tell you guys a story about a guy named Sam the Bellhop. This guy, Sam the Bellhop, he owns his own restaurant. And it's right down the street from this place called the 654 Club. Sam's in his restaurant one day. It's kind of slow. All of a sudden, the two big doors open up, and in walk these four guys dressed like kings. These four guys walked in dressed like kings. They said, Sam, listen, we're new in town. This is the place to come to. You're the man to talk to if we need anything. Sam, so what can I do for you? The guy says, well, we're looking for some chicks. Can you find some girls to hang out with? Sam says, well, it's a little early, but I'll see what I can do. Sam takes a walk down 1, 2, 3 blocks, comes back. Says, the best I could do was a couple brunettes and a couple of redheads. They said, that's great, Sam. Where'd you get these girls at? He said, oh, down the street, the 654 Club. They said, that's great, Sam. It's a $2 tip for you. And they gave Sam a $2 tip. So now they're having drinks with these ladies. Time's going by. They get a little bored again. They say, Sam, listen, we're looking to play some cards. Can you find some card players? Sam says, it's still a little early, but I'll see what I can do. Sam again takes a walk down 1, 2, 3 blocks. Comes back. So the best I could do was 4 guys, but they're all named Jack. I said, that's great. Where'd you get these Jacks at? He said, oh, down the street at the 654 Club. They said, that's great, Sam, it's a $2 tip for you. And again, they gave Sam a $2 tip. So now they're having drinks with the ladies, playing cards with the guys. Time's going by. They're running a little bit of trouble. They owe these guys some money. They said, Sam, listen, all I have is a $40 check. Can you cash it? Give me a couple of 20s. Sam went to the register, came back, said, guys, I'm all out of 20s. I'll give you 4 10s. They said, that's fine. Sam is a $2 tip for you. And they gave Sam a $2 tip. They said, Sam, listen, you're a hell of a guy, Sam. How old are you, by the way? And Sam said, guess. The guy goes, I don't know. You got to be about 38. Sam said, close, I'm 39. They said, well, do you live around here? Sam said, oh, no, I live way over at 1329 West 8th Street. 1329 West 8th Street. Nice. They said, well, do you gamble at all, Sam? Do you gamble? Sam said, I gamble every single day, you guys, over at the 654 Club. Oh, I missed one. They dropped these before. 654 Club. They will. Well, let's do this. They said, well, you ever seen any good poker hands over there? Sam, any good poker hands? Sam said, you wouldn't believe it, you guys. I was in there the other night, big table of guys, big pile of money. Comes time to show the cards. You wouldn't. This one guy had 3 7s and a pair of 8s. Guy goes, wow, it's a full house. How much did he win? Sim said he didn't win. This other guy had 3 aces and a pair of 9s. So how much did he win? Sim said he didn't win either because that guy Michael Trixx was there. That's me, and I had a straight flush. Boom, there you go.
Michael Trixx! Michael Trixx. That's a Trixx.
Yeah.
What's the trick?
I would do more for you guys. I get sick of doing I get sick of doing card tricks. Thank you for watching Modern Drummer. You're awesome.
That's the
You
one.
guys are awesome. Thank you. Thank you.